listener to Serene Slumber Tales, where tonight we journey softly into the quiet corners of Westeros. Let your breathing slow as the winds drift across distant hills and the candles flicker low in ancient stone halls. There is no rush here, no clash of swords, no ringing alarm of battle horns, only the hush of history softened by time. Imagine yourself seated beside a hearth in a forgotten tower, the flames glowing amber and gold, the world beyond the narrow window wrapped in silver moonlight. The stones around you are cool but patient, warmed gently by the fire's steady glow. Outside, an owl calls once and then falls silent, as though mindful not to disturb the peace. The continent of Westeros is old, so old that even its oldest castles were once new against the sky. Before banners flew and kings sat upon thrones, there were only forests stretching endlessly beneath the stars. The children of the forest walked quietly among weirwood groves, their small hands tracing faces carved into pale bark. The first men crossed the narrow sea on simple boats, carrying bronze blades and hopeful hearts. In those days, the land was wild and unnamed, rivers wandering freely without bridges to bind them. Mountains stood in solemn stillness, their peaks veiled in drifting snow, untouched by roads or keeps. As you breathe in, picture the great weirwood trees, their red leaves stirring gently in a wind that never quite fades. Their carved faces watch without judgment. Time flows differently here. Thousands of years pass like drifting clouds. Treaties are made beneath rustling branches. The pact between the first men and the children brings peace. And for a long, restful age, the forests remain deep and green. In the stillness of those groves, you might imagine the faint murmur of leaves speaking to one another, sharing stories older than stone. Further north, beyond lands most dare not travel, the wall will one day rise, but not yet. For now, the cold is only a distant whisper. The seasons move in slow rhythm. Summer's golden haze, autumn's copper leaves, winter's white hush. Let your mind follow that rhythm, steady and unhurried. Picture the long summers where sunlight lingers until late evening, painting meadows in soft honeyed light. See the gentle drift of falling leaves in autumn, spiraling lazily to the forest floor. Feel the quiet embrace of winter, not harsh or cruel, but serene. A blanket of white settling over hills and valleys alike. In the riverlands, broad waters curve through fertile plains, their surfaces reflecting pale skies and drifting clouds. Fisherfolk mend their nets along quiet banks, unaware that centuries from now, their descendants will speak of lords and wars. For now, there are only simple cottages with thatched roofs and smoke curling upward in lazy spirals. The air smells of damp earth and wood smoke. Somewhere, a child laughs, the sound carrying lightly across the water before fading into evening calm. Far to the west, where rocky shores meet the restless sea, waves roll in patient succession. They rise and fall, as they have always done. The salt breeze is cool and steady, brushing against cliffs worn smooth by time. No fortress yet crowns these heights, only seabirds wheeling overhead and the distant shimmer of the horizon. If you listen closely, you may hear the sea's quiet lullaby, a rhythm older than memory, a song without beginning or end. To the south, warm winds drift across open fields where wildflowers sway in gentle motion. The sun rests comfortably overhead, neither harsh nor blinding, but kind and golden. In shaded groves, small streams murmur over smooth stones, their waters clear enough to mirror the sky. The world feels wide and welcoming here, unburdened by crowns or conflicts. Even the animals move with calm assurance, grazing peacefully beneath the expansive blue. As ages turn, settlements slowly rise. Wooden halls at first, simple and sturdy. Smoke rises from central hearths, much like the one before you now. Stories are told in low voices as night gathers outside. Elders speak of ancient trees and wandering spirits, of the first crossing from distant shores. Their words drift upward with the sparks from the fire, mingling with the rafters and the scent of pine. Nothing is hurried. Each tale unfolds like a slow river, meandering gently toward rest. Imagine the sky above Westeros in these early days. It stretches vast and unbroken, a deep velvet canopy scattered with countless stars. Without towers or cities to dim their glow, the constellations shine brilliantly. You might trace them with your eyes, forming quiet patterns in the darkness. The moon rises full and luminous, casting silver pathways across fields and forests. Its light touches treetops and rivers alike, uniting the land in a single, tranquil glow. Even the passage of centuries feels softened here. Kingdoms will one day rise and fall. Great castles will climb toward the heavens. Songs will be sung of dragons and direwolves, of queens and conquerors. But tonight, we rest before all of that. We remain in the gentler dawn of memory, when the world is still forming its stories, when hope and wonder outnumber ambition and fear. Return now to the tower where you began. The hearth still glows, its embers settling into a deep, comforting red. The moonlight beyond the window has shifted slightly, climbing higher in the sky. The owl has taken flight, its wings silent as drifting snow. Your breathing is slow and even, matching the quiet pulse of this ancient land. There is no urgency here, only the steady turning of seasons, only the patient watch of weirwood faces, only the soft murmur of wind through endless trees. Tonight, we are not here for treachery or turmoil. We are here for the gentle unfolding of lore, the soft turning of pages in a history older than memory. So settle deeper still. Let the warmth of the hearth ease your thoughts. Allow the vast ancient calm of Westeros to cradle you as it has cradled countless generations before. And as the firelight flickers lower, drift peacefully into the quiet embrace of this timeless realm. Long after the first men and the Andals carved their legacies into stone, far across the narrow sea rose the radiant empire of Valyria. Picture it now, not in flames, not in ruin, but in its tranquil height. Marble roads gleam beneath warm sunlight. Dragon lords stroll along balconies overlooking sapphire waters. Their dragons rest upon towering spires, wings folded like great living cloaks. The air is warm with distant heat from the 14 flames, yet gentle here along the coast, where sea breezes soften the horizon and carry the scent of salt and ash, mingled together in quiet harmony. Dragons are not creatures of chaos here. They are warmth and wonder. Their scales shimmer like polished gems, emerald, obsidian, molten gold. When they take to the sky, it is not in fury, but in effortless grace, circling above the freehold as if tracing lazy spirals in the air. Sunlight catches along their vast wings, turning membranes translucent, veined with living light. Below, citizens pause not in fear, but in reverence, shading their eyes to watch the great shapes glide across an endless blue. The bond between rider and dragon is quiet, almost tender, forged in trust and ancient bloodlines. A hand rests upon warm scales. A whispered word in High Valyrian carries more affection than command. In shaded courtyards, young dragon lords learn patience before power, sitting beside hatchlings whose small puffs of smoke curl harmlessly upward. There is laughter here. There is music drifting from open archways. The empire feels eternal, its towers white and strong against the sky. Yet even in golden ages, time drifts onward. The doom of Valyria comes suddenly, like a storm rolling in from a clear horizon. But we will soften its edges. Imagine instead a fading sunset, the sky glowing red and orange before gently dimming into twilight. The marble streets grow quiet. The glow of distant fires becomes a far-off shimmer. What was once bright and certain recedes into memory, like a dream dissolving at dawn. From that twilight, one family survives. House Targaryen, settled upon the island fortress of Dragonstone. Dragonstone stands solitary against rolling seas. Its towers are carved in shapes of coiled dragons, but tonight they seem peaceful, guardians rather than conquerors. Waves lap rhythmically against black stone, smoothing its sharpness with patient devotion. The wind hums softly through narrow windows, and along battlements shaped like folded wings. Within candlelit chambers, the Targaryens speak softly of destiny, of dreams that whisper across sleep, visions of a distant shore, of a land divided and waiting. In the quiet hours before dawn, dragons rest upon the cliffs, their tails curled neatly around their bodies. Their breathing is slow and steady, faint tendrils of warmth rising into cool night air. The sea below reflects 1,000 trembling stars. It is here, in this gentle stillness, that history gathers itself like a tide preparing to turn. Years later, Aegon Targaryen will cross the sea with his sisters and their dragons. But rather than dwell on conquest, let us imagine the stillness before it begins. The quiet morning mist over Blackwater Bay, sails barely stirring, dragons resting upon the sand. The shoreline is hushed, gulls circling lazily overhead. The water is calm as glass, reflecting the pale blush of sunrise. Even the dragons seem contemplative, their great heads lowered, eyes half-lidded in thought. The fleet drifts forward without haste. Oars dip gently into the water. Cloth sails breathe in and out with the wind. There is anticipation here, yes, but also serenity. History is poised like a held breath, suspended between past and future. Upon that shore, simple structures begin to rise. Timber frames stand where only grass once swayed. Workers move steadily, their labor accompanied by the rhythmic knock of hammer against stone. What will become King's Landing begins not as grandeur, but as intention. Fishermen still cast nets in calm waters nearby. Children chase one another along dusty paths. Life continues in small, ordinary ways, even as legends take root. Above it all, the dragons circle, not in menace, but in watchful grace. Their shadows sweep across hills and shoreline like passing clouds. When they land, it is with measured strength, wings folding carefully against their sides. They are guardians of promise, keepers of a flame not yet fierce. In time, the Red Keep will crown the hill, its walls rising firm against wind and storm. And within it will stand the Iron Throne, forged from surrendered swords at Aegon's command. Yet tonight, let us see it not as a seat of sharp edges, but a symbol, a reminder that power, like flame, must be tended carefully, lest it consume what it seeks to protect. Metal twisted and fused becomes not merely a weapon, but a warning shaped into permanence. As dusk settles over the newborn city, torches glow along wooden palisades. The scent of smoke drifts gently upward, carried harmlessly into a darkening sky. Dragons perch upon high scaffolds and rocky outcrops, their scales reflecting firelight in soft glimmers of red and gold. The sea continues its endless rhythm against the shore, unconcerned with crowns or conquest. Let your thoughts drift like dragonfire embers, carried harmlessly into the night sky, glowing briefly before fading into stars. Imagine warmth without destruction, strength without fury. The age of dragons begins not with battle cries, but with breath, with the quiet exhale of creatures older than memory and the steady heartbeat of a family guided by dream. The wind softens, the waves hush. Above Dragonstone and the distant shores of Westeros alike, the sky stretches vast and patient. In its expanse, dragons wheel slowly, tracing circles that seem less like dominion and more like guardianship. And so we rest here in the dawn before the blaze, where fire is still gentle light against gathering dusk, and the world holds its breath in calm anticipation of stories yet to unfold. Now we travel north to Winterfell, where snow falls in soft, patient spirals. The castle rises from steaming hot springs, its grey walls warm even in deepest winter. Frost gathers along battlements like delicate lace, yet beneath the stone there is steady heat, ancient and reassuring. In the Godswood, a heart tree stands sentinel, its red eyes reflecting moonlight in pools of quiet knowing. The still surface of the pond mirrors branches heavy with snow, each flake settling without sound. The House Stark have ruled here for generations beyond counting, their words steady as a heartbeat. Winter is coming. But tonight, winter is gentle. Imagine thick furs draped across sturdy wooden chairs, crackling hearths, sending sparks drifting lazily upward, and the distant howl of a lone wolf echoing across frosted fields, not in warning, but in belonging. The north is vast and contemplative. Forests stretch endlessly, dark pines standing patient beneath the weight of white. Frozen lakes lie still as glass, mirroring the pale sky and drifting clouds. There is comfort in such openness, a sense of enduring strength rooted as deeply as the weirwoods themselves. Even the silence feels protective, wrapping the land in calm. From the quiet of the north, we drift southward to Highgarden, where sunlight lingers like a fond memory. Here, warmth spills generously across rolling hills. Roses climb trellises in delicate spirals, petals unfolding in shades of blush and crimson. Bees hum lazily among blossoms, their steady rhythm blending with the distant murmur of fountains. The lands of House Tyrell are fertile and kind, fields rippling in green and amber beneath a forgiving sky. Feasts here are lively but never harsh, long tables adorned with fruit and fresh bread, goblets catching the golden light of afternoon. Music drifts through perfumed air, harps and flutes weaving melodies as soft as silk. Laughter rises and falls like birdsong, unburdened by suspicion. Even as evening settles, lanterns glow warmly along garden paths, illuminating ivy-covered walls and quiet courtyards where couples stroll beneath climbing vines. In Highgarden, abundance feels natural, like summer that never quite fades. To the west, Casterly Rock towers above a restless sea, its massive form carved from stone that gleams faintly in the fading sun. Waves crash gently against its base, sending plumes of salt spray into the wind. Within its halls, lantern light reflects off veins of gold embedded deep in rock, subtle glimmers woven into the walls themselves. The seat of House Lannister carries a reputation for power and pride, yet in the hush of evening, it feels almost contemplative. There are quiet corridors here where footsteps echo softly. Hidden balconies overlook sunset waves painted in copper and rose. Servants move calmly through torchlit passageways, their shadows stretching long against carved lions frozen in stone. In private chambers, heavy curtains sway slightly with ocean breeze, and the distant roar of water becomes a steady lullaby. Beneath banners and gold, there are moments of solitude, stillness that wealth cannot gild nor disturb. High above fertile valleys stands the Eyrie, cradled in the arms of towering mountains. The stronghold of House Arryn perches impossibly high, its pale towers rising like spears into the blue. Clouds gather below like a feathered bed, drifting slowly across sheer cliffs. From its windows, one sees only sky and the graceful arc of soaring falcons. The air is crisp and clean, thin enough to quiet even hurried thoughts. Sound barely travels this high. Voices seem softer, footsteps lighter. The world's troubles feel distant, unable to climb the winding mountain path. In the moonlight, marble floors glow faintly silver. A single candle flickers in a high chamber, its flame steady despite the altitude. The Eyrie feels suspended between earth and heaven, untouched by the noise below. And in sun-drenched dawn, warm winds carry scents of citrus and spice across golden sands. At its heart rests Sunspear, its sandstone walls glowing pink and amber at dusk. Palms sway gently beside shimmering pools. In the water gardens, fountains murmur lullabies beneath open skies, their cool mist soft against warm skin. The domain of House Martell moves to a slower, sun-soaked rhythm. Here, evenings stretch long and fragrant. Lanterns flicker beneath archways carved in intricate patterns. Silk banners stir lazily in desert breezes. The stars appear sharper against the darkened sky, brilliant and close enough to imagine touching. Even the heat feels benevolent at night, stored gently in stone before releasing into cooler air. Each kingdom has its rhythm, its climate, its temperament. The north breathes in frost and endurance. The Reach exhales fragrance and song. The Westerlands glimmer with quiet wealth. The Vale floats in airy solitude. Dawn glows with warmth and spice. Yet all share the same turning stars overhead. The constellations pass from one horizon to another, indifferent to borders or banners. Imagine drifting from castle to castle, as though borne by a calm night wind, observing without entanglement. Snow gives way to roses, cliffs soften into sand, mountains descend towards sea. You carry no allegiance, only awareness. The Game of Thrones may continue endlessly, but from this gentle vantage, it is only distant movement, like pieces shifting silently across a board far below. Above it all, the sky remains vast and untroubled. The moonlight touches Winterfell's snow and Highgarden's blooms alike. It glimmers on Casterly Rock's waves, brushes the Eyrie's high towers, and warms the stones of Sunspear before fading into dawn. And so, the great houses rest, not in rivalry, but in quiet repose, each castle a heartbeat in the living body of Westeros, steady and serene beneath the patient star. Now let us journey further still, beyond the towering the wall. Picture it not as forbidding, but magnificent, an immense glacier catching moonlight and scattering it like crystal. Its surface gleams in shades of blue and silver, ridged and faceted as though carved by careful hands rather than time and frost. The ice rises impossibly high, disappearing into pale clouds, its sheer face unmarred except for the faintest lines where ancient cold has shifted and settled. When the wind brushes against it, the wall seems almost to sing, a low and resonant hum echoing across the night. The Night's Watch stands vigil along its heights, black cloaks stirring in frigid air. Their boots leave deliberate prints atop packed snow. breath rises in steady plumes, drifting like smoke before vanishing into darkness. Their vows are solemn, but tonight their watch is peaceful. Torches burn with steady flames in iron brackets, casting warm halos against the vast, cold expanse. Steel glints faintly, but no alarm sounds. Only silence, deep and patient, blankets the world. North of the wall lies a wilderness untouched by crowns or courts. Snow blankets pine forests in soft layers, weighing branches into gentle arcs. Rivers freeze into glassy ribbons, their currents stilled beneath translucent ice. The sky stretches wide and unbroken, painted in gradients of indigo and pearl. The free folk move with quiet resilience, following herds across open tundra. Their furs are thick, their steps sure. They leave no grand monuments behind, only faint trails soon covered by drifting snow. There is simplicity here, a life guided by wind and instinct rather than heraldry. Fires are built in sheltered hollows, flames crackling softly against the hush of night. Children sleep beneath layered pelts, listening to stories murmured in low voices. The cold shapes every choice, every movement, yet it is not cruel, only constant. It asks for respect, and in return grants clarity. The haunted forest stretches endlessly, branches creaking gently under frost. Snow gathers thick along roots and fallen logs, smoothing jagged edges into quiet curves. Somewhere deep within, ancient magic lingers, not loud or violent, but subtle as breath upon cold air. The trees stand closer together here, their trunks dark against luminous drifts. Now and then, snow slips from a bough with a soft sigh, breaking the stillness before calm settles once more. Legends speak of the others, pale figures woven from winter itself. Yet in this telling, they remain distant myths, shapes glimpsed only in drifting snow or imagined at the corner of weary sight. They are part of the land's old memory, no more pressing than the whisper of wind through pine needles. Tonight, the forest holds only quiet. Instead, focus on the aurora shimmering across the northern sky. Curtains of green and violet ripple above silent plains, flowing like silk drawn gently across the heavens. Light dances soundlessly, reflected in frozen lakes and mirrored faintly in watchful eyes below. The cold is sharp but clean, filling lungs with clarity. Each breath feels deliberate. Each exhale releases a faint cloud that lingers briefly before dissolving. Footsteps crunch softly in fresh powder. A direwolf's tracks weave between trees, purposeful yet unhurried. The prints form a quiet pattern across untouched snow, soon to be softened by wind. Even predators move with measured calm, their presence woven naturally into the rhythm of this land. At Shadow Tower and Eastwatch by the sea, brothers of the watch share quiet meals of stew and dark bread. Steam rises from wooden bowls, carrying the scent of onions and salted meat. They speak in low tones of memories from warmer lands, of fields in bloom, of markets bright with colour. Laughter surfaces softly, then fades into thoughtful silence. Outside, the sea at Eastwatch laps steadily against frozen shorelines, its rhythm a reminder that the world continues beyond frost. The wall hums faintly, ancient ice shifting with deep, resonant echoes like a lullaby sung by the earth itself. Within its immense body, unseen currents of pressure and time move slowly, reshaping nothing in haste. The sound travels downward through stone and snow, subtle but grounding. It is a reminder of endurance. Here at the edge of the world, everything slows. Ambition feels meaningless against endless snowfields stretching toward the horizon. Titles fade into insignificance. The grandeur of southern castles seems distant and small compared to the vast white expanse. Only survival and brotherhood remain. Simple, grounding truths held close against the cold. The stars above burn brilliantly in air so clear it seems almost fragile. Constellations feel nearer, sharper, as though suspended just beyond reach. The moon casts a silver path across drifts and ridges, illuminating the land in gentle light. There is beauty in this austerity, a serenity found only where distractions fall away. Let the vast whiteness clear your thoughts. Imagine the wall standing eternal, separating chaos from calm. Feel the stillness settle around you like falling snow. Breathe in the cold, silver air, steady and pure. Breathe out any lingering restlessness, watching it dissolve into the quiet night. Beyond the wall, there is no hurry, only the slow silence of the north, vast and patient beneath the shimmering sky. Every story within Westeros turns upon cycles, summer to winter, war to peace, rise to fall. The land itself seems to breathe in these rhythms, expanding in warmth, contracting in frost, resting and waking in patient repetition. The long night lives in memory as a time of darkness, when cold shadows stretched across the world and the suns seem reluctant to rise. Yet even that legend carries within it a promise. Dawn will always follow. No winter, however vast, has ever held the sky forever. Picture the long night, not as terror, but as the quietest hour before morning. The air is still. Snow lies undisturbed across fields and rooftops. Stars burn brighter against deep velvet skies, their light sharpened by the cold. Communities gather close around shared fires, drawing comfort not from grandeur, but from nearness. Songs are sung softly to keep fear at bay, not triumphant anthems, but gentle melodies remembered from childhood. Hands reach for other hands across wooden tables. Breath mingles in the glow of flame. In that hush, heroes emerge not in glory, but in courage, the simple act of standing firm beside one another. A watchman remains at his post despite trembling fingers. A mother tells stories to calm restless children. A friend shares the last of the bread without hesitation. These are the quiet triumphs that outlast darkness. The long night becomes less a tale of monsters and more a testament to endurance. Legends tell of Azor Ahai, the prophesied hero who forged Lightbringer from sacrifice and flame. Yet think of that blade not as a weapon, but as warmth, a hearth rekindled after endless cold. Imagine the first spark catching, fragile but determined. The glow spreads slowly, pushing back shadow not with violence, but with steady illumination. Lightbringer becomes a symbol of resilience, the idea of hope passed carefully from generation to generation, like a candle shielded from wind by cupped hands. The darkness recedes not all at once, but gradually, a faint paling at the edge of the world. The sky softens from black to indigo, from indigo to grey. Birds stir hesitantly in frost-laden branches. The promise of dawn arrives quietly, without fanfare. And when the sun finally crests the horizon, its warmth feels earned, gentle gold spilling across snowfields, turning ice to diamond shimmer. As centuries turn, dynasties rise and fade like phases of the moon. House Targaryen rules in fire and vision, then falters beneath its own weight. Dragons fill the skies, then pass into memory. The echoes of Robert's rebellion reshape the realm, banners shifting, oaths remade. New players take their places upon the board, their ambitions sharp, their strategies intricate. Yet beneath it all, Westeros endures. Rivers continue their patient journey to the sea, indifferent to crowns. The trident flows as it always has, its waters catching sunlight in ripples of silver. In the reach, wheat bends beneath summer breezes. In the north, snow gathers and melts and gathers again. Children are born who know nothing of past wars, only the gentle comfort of lullabies and the steady rhythm of summer rain against rooftops. Time moves forward with quiet insistence, smoothing even the deepest scars. Castles weather storms and stand still. The Iron Throne may change hands, its jagged edges looming over one ruler and then another, but the metal remains only metal. Power flickers like flame, bright, consuming, then dim. What persists is the land itself. Hills rolling beneath open sky, forests whispering in patient tongues, seas breathing against rocky shores. And so we return to stillness. Imagine yourself once more by the hearth where we began. The fire is burned low, embers glowing softly in shades of crimson and gold. Ash settles gently, collapsing inward with faint sighs. Outside, snow begins to fall, or perhaps warm rain taps lightly against the glass. The world of Westeros stretches vast and ancient beyond those walls, yet from this quiet vantage, it feels serene and contained. Dragons sleep in distant dreams, their wings folded close. Direwolves curl in their dens, tails wrapped over noses. The wall stands silent beneath starlight, its icy face reflecting constellations that have watched over countless ages. Nothing stirs in haste. Here on Serene Slumber Tales, the law is not a clash of steel, but a tapestry woven slowly, thread by thread. History becomes comfort. Legends become lullabies. The game fades into background murmur, its sharp edges softened by time and distance. What remains is ambience, the whisper of wind through weirwood leaves, the rhythmic hush of waves against Dragonstone shore, the faint crackle of a fire nearing rest. Allow your breathing to match that rhythm, slow, steady, calm. Feel the cycles turning without urgency. Winter yields to spring, night yields to dawn, loss yields eventually to renewal. Even the longest darkness cannot prevent the sky from brightening. As the night deepens, Westeros drifts with you into dreams where castles glow softly in moonlight, where dragons soar peacefully across endless skies, and where every long night carries within it the certainty of morning. The stars wheel gently overhead, ancient and untroubled. Sleep now beneath those patient stars. Dawn is already on its way.